I sold my late wife's piano to a stranger without knowing it. My own grandson did it. And he didn't even ask me first. My name is Walter. I'm 68 years old. I live in a quiet house outside Asheville, North Carolina. My wife, Eleanor, passed away 3 years ago. Before she died, she asked me for one thing. Keep her piano safe. That piano wasn't just wood and strings. Eleanor searched 13 years to find it. It was the exact model her mother once owned in Ohio, before it was lost in a house fire when Eleanor was a little girl. She spent 13 years hunting flea markets, estate sales, and old music shops until she found one just like it. When she finally brought it home, she cried for an hour. She used to play it every evening. I would sit in my chair and listen. Those were the best hours of my life. After she died, I couldn't bring myself to touch that piano. I just kept the room closed. Every Sunday, I opened the door, looked at it, and closed it again. It was like she was still in there. 2 weeks ago, I flew to Denver to help my daughter recover from surgery. My grandson Tyler, 22 years old, stayed behind to watch the house. I trusted him completely. He was always a good boy, quiet, respectful, or so I thought. When I came home, I walked straight to that room like I always do. I turned the handle. I pushed the door open. The room was empty. My knees went weak. I gripped the doorframe just to stay standing. For a second, I thought I was in the wrong house. But no, it was the same room, same wallpaper, same window, same afternoon light falling on the same wooden floor. Only the piano was gone. "Tyler!" I shouted. My voice cracked. "Tyler, get in here now!" He came running from the kitchen, phone in his hand. He froze when he saw my face. "Where is it?" I asked. "Where is your grandmother's piano?" He looked at the floor. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Grandpa, I sold it. I heard the words, but they didn't make sense at first. Sold it, like it was furniture, like it was nothing." "You sold it," I repeated slowly. "You sold your grandmother's piano?" "I needed the money," he said. "For Sierra." "For the wedding?" "I was going to pay you back, I swear." Sierra was his girlfriend. They'd been dating 2 years. I didn't even know they were engaged. I stood there in that empty room, staring at the faint outline still, pressed into the carpet where the piano legs used to sit. 13 years of searching, 3 years of grief, gone in one afternoon for a wedding I wasn't even told about. "Do you understand what you did?" I whispered. Then my phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. I answered with a shaking hand. A man's voice came through, urgent, almost breathless. "Sir, this is Marcus Bell, the piano restorer. You need to come down here right now. Your wife left something inside this piano. You have to see it for yourself." I grabbed my keys before Marcus even finished his sentence. Tyler tried to follow me to the truck. "Grandpa, let me explain." "Not now," I said. "Stay here." The drive to Marcus Bell's restoration shop took 25 minutes. My hands wouldn't stop shaking on the wheel. What could Eleanor have left inside that piano? We'd owned it for 13 years. I never saw her hide anything. When I walked in, Marcus was standing next to Eleanor's piano. Seeing it again, even in a stranger's shop, nearly broke me. He was an older man, maybe 50, with sawdust on his apron and kind eyes. "I bought pianos for restoration for 20 years, he said. "I always check inside before I start work. Old pianos hide things, love letters, photographs. Once, I found a soldier's dog tags from World War II. He opened the top panel and reached inside, near the soundboard. He pulled out a small wooden box, sealed with tape that had yellowed with age. "This was tucked behind the harp frame," he said. "Whoever hid it wanted it found by someone who really looked. Not someone who just wanted to sell for parts." My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a stack of letters, tied with a faded ribbon, and a smaller envelope with my name written in Eleanor's handwriting. I sat down right there on the shop floor. I didn't care how it looked. I opened the envelope first. "My dearest Walter," it began. "If you're reading this, it means you finally opened the piano all the way. Or someone else did it for you. I always meant to tell you something, but I was scared of how you'd react." My chest tightened. "When I was a girl before the fire, my mother kept money hidden inside our piano. She never trusted banks after the Depression stories her own mother told her. When I found this piano, so close to the one we lost, I couldn't resist doing the same thing. I hid something inside for our family's future. Not for luxury, Walter. For our grandchildren. For moments when they might need it most, and might be too proud or too scared to ask. I looked at Marcus. He nodded toward the box. Underneath the letters were bank documents. A savings bond account opened 13 years ago, forgotten by everyone except a dead woman and the piano that held her secret. The current value, after decades of interest, almost $80,000. I sat in that dusty shop, holding proof that my wife had quietly planned for our family's future long after she was gone. And my grandson had sold that very piano for a fraction of its worth, never knowing what was hidden inside. Marcus cleared his throat gently. There's one more thing, sir. The buyer who purchased it from your grandson. He came in yesterday before I found this. He wants to sell it back. I frowned. Why would he want to sell it back? Marcus's face turned serious. Because he says he already found something too, and he says he's not sure it belongs to him. The buyer's name was Daniel Cross. He agreed to meet me at Marcus's shop the next morning. I barely slept that night, sitting at my kitchen table reading Eleanor's letter over and over, hearing her voice in every line. When I arrived, Daniel was standing beside the piano, hands in his pockets, looking nervous. He was around 40, wearing a flannel jacket and worn work boots. Mr. Walter, he said, I'm sorry. I had no idea this piano meant so much to your family. Your grandson told me it was just old furniture nobody wanted. He said you were downsizing. That stung more than I expected. Tyler hadn't just sold the piano. He'd lied about why. You didn't know, I said. You're not the one I'm upset with. Still, something felt wrong the moment I got it home, Daniel said. It didn't feel like furniture in my garage. It felt like it belonged to someone. I looked at the piano, my wife's piano, sitting between three strangers, who now knew more about our family's quiet pain than they should. The dark wood still held that same soft shine. Eleanor used to polish every Sunday before church. There's something else, Daniel said. I found an envelope taped under the bench seat, tucked in the back corner. I almost missed it. Then I saw your last name written on it. He handed me a second envelope, addressed simply, for Tyler when he's ready to build a life. My throat tightened. Eleanor had thought of him specifically, years before any of this happened. Inside was a short note written in her careful handwriting. Tyler, my sweet grandson, I know you'll grow into a good man even if you make mistakes along the way. Everyone does, including me. Use this gift wisely, with your grandfather's guidance, not instead of it. Tucked behind the note was a smaller savings bond, worth $12,000 meant just for him. Daniel offered to sell the piano back for exactly what he paid, not a penny more. This should stay with your family, he said. Some things aren't about money. I shook his hand, unable to find the right words. Some kindness doesn't need a speech. It just needs a quiet thank you, meant completely. I called Tyler that afternoon and asked him to meet me at the shop. He arrived pale, like he hadn't slept either. When he saw the piano sitting whole and untouched, his eyes filled with tears before he said a word. Grandpa, I'm so sorry, he said, voice breaking. I panicked. Sierra's family kept asking about wedding costs, and I felt like a failure. I thought I was fixing something. I ended up breaking something worse. I studied his face, remembering being 22 once, terrified of disappointing the people I loved. You were wrong, I told him honestly. It hurt me deeply. But you're not a bad person, Tyler. You made a selfish choice under pressure. That's something almost everyone does. The question is what you do after. I handed him the envelope. He read it slowly, hands shaking, tears falling before he could stop them. She planned for this? He whispered, even knowing I might mess up someday. She loved you enough to plan for your mistakes, I said. Not just your successes. That's real love, Tyler. The kind that stays, even when things go wrong. He wrapped his arms around me, something he hadn't done since he was small. I held him and let myself cry, too, for the first time since Eleanor passed. We loaded the piano onto Daniel's truck and drove it home carefully, like we were carrying something sacred because we were. That evening I opened the piano room door, and for the first time in 3 years, I didn't close it again. Warm evening light spilled across the floor, where the piano now stood in its rightful place. Tyler sat on the bench. He barely remembered how to play, just a few notes from childhood lessons he'd quit years ago. But he pressed the keys slowly, and a soft, imperfect melody filled the room. I'm going to learn properly, he said, smiling through his tears. For her. It's not about the money. I said, settling into my old chair by the window. It never was. I sat there and listened, just like I used to when Eleanor was still with us. For the first time since she died, that room felt full again, alive with the sound of a family finding its way back to each other.